night of Stineitch, and we're going to have another holiday special tonight. This is going to be the sixth day of Christmas. Um, those of you who follow my channel closely, you'll know that, as I've explained, there are 12 days of Christmas, and so many people forget that. They think, oh, there's only one day on December 25. A long time ago, everybody knew that there were 12 days, and what happened was during the industrial age, the capitalist age, um, the capitalists decided, well, we don't want all these people taking 12 days off. We're going to just start telling them, promoting the idea of a single day. And that's how it is until today. We have a single day of Christmas, and that's not too cool. There should be more, a lot more. Um, should be 12. So I'm just doing a couple of last minute checks here because my assistant producer, Paul, um, with the holiday strike and everything, he just kind of quit. And, he said, well, I'm gonna first he said, well, I gotta be in solidarity with the writers in Hollywood, and he took off with the Key Grips, the Best Boys, um, the lighting technicians, like everybody just left for a while. I had to learn to do everything myself, and now I'm basically still doing everything by myself. And I do have the brainwaves up. That's one of the hardest things to get going. The real brainwaves. This is called a Muse 2. You can look it up. It's a Muse 2. Um, it doesn't come with the brainwave graph though. That's something you have to get separate. It's called a mind monitor, and by a guy named James Clatterback, and it really works good. And then I can just broadcast those over. Um, those are broadcast actually over a thing called Screen Stream HT stream screen over HTTP. And it's a good program. When I first got it, it was kind of clunky and hard to use, and then a while ago they told me, well, do another download of a new version, and I got the new version. It's working really good, especially with my newest. Um, I got a new cell phone. It's working really good. It's not so blurry like it used to be. So I think we're doing okay. So, once again, welcome to the sixth day of Christmas. You can count them up. There's 6 days, and so far, and we're going to start today's session with another, just like we did last night, with a thing from James Mason. For those of you who don't know about James Mason, he was a very influential writer about chess. Wrote a very famous book more than 100 years ago, but it's been updated in new releases since then. And the last release came out, I think it was edited by Fred Reinfeld or somebody. Um, it starts with endings, it goes to middle game, and then it goes to openings, which they say is the logical way to learn chess because you can't really understand an opening until you understand how the end games go. So this, which you can see right here on our screen, that is a right here. It's from this version. It's from this version of The Art of Chess by James Mason. Kind of a promotion of the book here. Um, it's on page. For those of you who have the book, you can look it up. It's on page 166. It's right there. Okay, so um, it's pretty interesting. They discuss it. They say from a French defense. and it was won by Mason. So this was the author himself playing this game. Um, these are not like if you ever go over to Chess.com or something and they have those puzzles and there's a definitive win. Um, these games are more like these games are a little bit more. Find a solution. There's not exactly um, an immediate mate, but there's like a really really strong move that will give you like total advantage over the game. Okay, so just to analyze this position a little bit, you can see that black has not developed very well. He's These pieces are kind of like useless to him. The bishop is not doing anything. The knight neither. The rook neither. He's basically playing with a king, a queen, and a rook against, all of these pieces could potentially do something, especially the bishop, this rook, which is opposing the queen through this pawn, and then the knight, pretty close to things here. The queen in a very aggressive forward position. Okay, that's the basic analysis of the position. And black has done something that's not generally considered a good idea. He has advanced his kingside pawns. He castled his king, and then he got these pawns advanced. When you advance them up, they are susceptible to attacks. They can get infiltrated by things that come in behind them, but they can also easily be attacked at the proper moment. And white controls that. White can advance a pawn when he thinks things are safe, and you can advance against these pawns a lot better. They can advance against the pawns if they were way over here. So advancing the pawns up like this makes you susceptible to attacks. And I think this is an interesting position, an interesting first move for white. It's white's move right now. And if you can like analyze it, it's kind of ripe for an attack because, as we said, the pieces are black pieces are kind of out of play over here. So if he needed to sacrifice a piece, he'd still be ahead in material in terms of what's actually in play. And when you sacrifice a piece, you're not totally sacrificing it either. You're normally winning a pawn or two, plus opening up the position. Now, what's interesting is if he sacrifices the knight here, the pawn takes the knight, the rook takes this. The queen can find places to go, and we're going to see that it's not as effective as if you sacrifice the rook. And there's a reason for that because if you sacrifice, you want to keep the bishop because the bishop is cutting down through here and it's going to support the queen. So if the bishop is on the white squares and then the knight gets posted here and the queen is ready to come in, the knight is covering the black squares. The bishop is ready to strike across the white squares, and that's basically all she wrote for that side of the board. So anyway, that's how it works. So you take the pawn, and he takes there. If he doesn't take there, it's still a lost game because you have to move the rook, the queen out, and then this rook can advance up to here, and then you see it would be. So you take the rook out of there, and now the the knight comes into this position, checking the king. Okay, now I'm going to refer to the book here, how the game went. So knight takes pawn check. Um, the king, if he goes here, he just opens himself up immediately to this attack by the bishop. So um, I suppose he could go back here, but according to the book, the king goes there, and we have to assume it's the strongest move. So king goes to rook one. Um, And now knight takes the pawn. I guess that's why the king didn't go there, because the knight would have immediately put him in check. And but this is still really dangerous because the knight takes the pawn, and then the king is going to be open to this attack by the queen as soon as the knight moves. So the knight takes the pawn. Black has this really strong resource, interposing the rook here. He can he he avoids that check. You know, he's going to lose his rook though. That's the only thing. Um, Now the bishop takes the rook, and the king takes the bishop, and then the knight goes to knight 4 check. So then the knight comes up here, and he can't be taken immediately by either the queen or the bishop. But you know, there's check right there, and black cannot interpose his queen because the knight is protecting this square. So, and the king can't move here or here or here. He's got to go back here. And the book has it here, mate in 4 or 5. Okay, so, you know, white has a lot of resources here. Suppose he could do that, and it's a million things to do here, and then that would be really strong. Maybe he tries to, and then you see he lose. It's just a million ways. He's going to lose his queen now. So anyway, I hope you like that interesting combination. We're not going to study it exhaustively because it is pretty complicated, but just for you to realize, you know, according to the authority of James Mason, in that case, it was better to sacrifice the rook, which is usually a more powerful piece you want to keep. But because the knight, remember, it had like more attacking possibilities in that position, it was much better to take first with the rook, then coming with the knight, and then the knight supporting the queen in conjunction with the bishop and winning the game with the rook finally coming in at the end. Okay, so hope you enjoyed it. We are on the 6th day of Christmas, and we're doing some instructional things, and then we'll play some chess too, plus some chat. At any moment now, I'm going to have you know, chatters jumping in. It usually takes them a while to know that I'm online, and then they jump on over to chat. And people like to just come and watch the brainwaves too. You've got the delta, the theta, the alpha, the beta, and the gamma. And when I get an insight or something, you're going to see the delta. The delta just look at the delta. It just went up. The delta is the red one, and it gets really active for some reason in chess when you get an insight or when you suddenly see something. You're going to see the alpha when I get like a really content situation, like wow, you know, moving forward, everything's strong, starting to relax a little bit, and then the alpha like really ticks up, like really ticks up. So you'll see a lot of patterns there if you pay attention, and that's why a lot of people, you know, right now I do have 58 viewers, but most of them are just zoning out. They're not chatting because, and it's a little bit like watching your favorite sitcom or something. People just tune in, watch the brainwaves, watch the games, listen to me talk, and kind of zone out watching the brainwaves go up and down. And kind of wish they would chat a little bit more, but if that's what they like to do, it's fine with me. So let's go ahead and go back to the lead chess, and we're going to analyze a game that I did last night on the 5th day of Christmas. Okay, we're going to look here at the um, at the game I played last night. So let me find where it is here. This is the only thing that's not so. Okay, I got to scroll down through these. I played a few today, a couple of hours ago, 11 hours ago. Must have been this one. Was it this one? Uh, 2 hours ago. Yeah, it had to have been this one. 11 hours ago. No, it was almost 24 hours ago. Had to look at a few more, I guess. 12 hours ago, 21 hours ago. It must have been this. Yeah, this is it. I recognized the last position. So this is a game I played on the stream last night, and I'm going to analyze this thing. This was the last game that I played, and it was a pretty good game, and I'll tell you why. There weren't any. I'm going to show you the analysis board. There weren't any mistakes or blunders. Look at that on either side. It was just like wonderful gameplay by both sides all through the game. I'm going to try to see if I can get the graph to show up a little bit better. Let me see if I can get the graph and the game board here all at the same time. Every once in a while I click on the right combination. Oh, there it is. Okay, I got it. So perfect. Yeah, so this is going to be good for the analysis. Um, Let me go to the ending position. That was the ending position. And you'll see if I put my mouse here, you'll see the two blunders that my opponent made were way late in the game. And also the mistake was right there. Up to that point, it was like a perfect game by my opponent. Now I didn't make any blunders, didn't make any mistakes. I had two what are called inaccuracies, and they were also after this dip. So right up to this point here, everything, I guess you could say, quote, perfect, unquote, in the sense that there weren't any mistakes or blunders on either side. So I think it's a very instructional game. Okay. It was a carokan, and if Carol could do it, we can do it too. So let's go ahead and see how to play a carokan in a good way. So a carokan is basically a response when by black when white plays pawn to king 4. Black has a lot of possibilities in what to do. The carokan is a really strong and easy thing to learn. If you're a beginner or intermediate player, I definitely suggest like learning this. It doesn't look like much. You just move this pawn up, but you'll see that it's just one of those openings that just flows so well. This pawn is supporting this next move, and after the next move, everything just flows together very easily. Um, and in this game, he did what a lot of players will do. They don't just take the pawn because then a retake here and black ends up with a decent position. Just putting some more pressure on the pawn with the knight. And I normally do that like right away, especially in these blitz games. And again, no inaccuracies. This is totally good opening play. It's not an inaccuracy or anything. To go ahead and take that pawn, you make this knight move. It's probably going to take with that knight, and he did. Okay. Now this happens a lot. Now when after he takes that pawn, and you'll see this very often repeated in the carokan, I always come out with this knight, and there's a reason for that. Sometimes they'll go back here. I tend to notice that the higher ranking players retreat it, whereas um, people rated a little less than that, they'll just go ahead and take the knight, like he did, because they think, well, they're doubling the pawns, and I retake with this pawn, and they say, well, oh, I doubled his pawns and opened up his king. That was really good. But the thing is, this pawn sitting here is not a weak pawn. He's protected by this pawn, and this pawn does a great job preventing the advance of this knight. And this king knight is very important in a lot of openings to come up here to attack. Um, This thing was used to be called K7, and now I guess they call it F7. Um, so the knight can't come up here because of the pawn, and you'll see that the black has a better chance to use that file quickly than white anyway. Okay, so then white came out with the bishop. I came out with my bishop. Um, Instead of castling, white did that. White could have also castled there, but you see he didn't. That's not an inaccuracy or anything. It's perfectly valid. Again, look, both of us playing with no inaccuracies or mistakes or anything. White just developing. I put a pin on the knight and still 0-0. Everything going very well. Now I retreat the bishop and see how my delta went like way up there because this is a juncture in the game, which is just incredible. I don't know why they do this, but I don't know. Like more than half the time, people will just do these pawn advances, and it really opens up, in my opinion, it opens up their king side. But I don't know. I wish I understood this, why they do that. And then they'll do this, and because the bishop has nowhere to go, and I guess the logic is, well, if one set of doubled pawns is great, then I just move my knight out, and then he takes the bishop. Well, then two sets of doubled pawns must be even better, right? But that's a fallacy. These pawns are in a perfect position. While double pawns are not good, I agree. This is not the end game, and also these are not bad doubled pawns. The king cannot be attacked from over here, from off the board. The pawns, he's got four pawns like um, to thwart any sort of a diagonal attack by bishops or queens, and that's all there is now anyway. And these two pawns protect the pawns in front, and the king is back here protecting these two pawns. It's kind of like an impregnable position. And it's called the pawn cube, by the way. Um, I saw recently a chess master on YouTube talking about this exact position and calling this in the carokan, calling this the pawn cube. And he was saying, well, every time you get the pawn cube, you're going to win. And maybe it's true because in this game, you'll see that we did win this game. So now he's got the two bishops bearing down on my king, but I've got the pawn cube and I'm not afraid. When the carokan, because this pawn is here in this version of the carokan, the knight takes two moves to develop up to here to clear space for the queen to maneuver and attacks this bishop at the same time. He brings the bishop back because he wants these two bishops to get some sort of a positional attack going. I bring my rook over because I might want to bring the bishop back to here, way back. In this game, I brought it to here, but I just brought the rook over because I'm playing fast. He brought his queen out, and again, no mistakes, no inaccuracies. I brought my bishop back to here, and at this point, I now have the diagonal battering ram set up. And when you set this up, you got to be careful that a knight cannot attack it obliquely like this because it gets one or the other. And you also got to make sure that the black bishop can't somehow get in the way to make the queen move off the line, and then it trades and you lose the ram. But we're going to keep the ram here because he can't get the bishop in the middle and he can't attack them both at the same time with a knight. Going to go back a second and explain why he moved over there. This is basically checkmate in one. He's got to cover this square because after I move the queen up here, the queen is threatening to come into here. That would be checkmate. So he brings the rook over, which is not a bad move because he's thinking about keeping his king here. I don't have a white square bishop to attack him on this white diagonal. He can keep the king there so the rooks can maneuver behind the king. And this rook can also come over onto this last file. And by moving this pawn down, he might get some attack on the last file over there. So this knight was kind of far away, so I'm just bringing him into the fray. And again, he retreats the bishop. He loves to have the two bishops, apparently. Suddenly we got these arrows that popped up now. It's a little bit disconcerting, but okay, that's all right. So I moved my rook up because I want to double my rooks on this file. And that was his first mistake. That was like a mistake, and I could have brought my rook up into here, but this was one of my inaccuracies. I should have brought the rook up to here because the rook can come over here, and then that really discombobulates his position. The king has got to either block this rook on the file or come back and disconnect the two rooks. Well, no, I can't. I'm ahead of myself. Um, if the rook comes up here, he's threatening not to take this pawn. He's threatening to come over here, and that that would make his queen move, and then I can get a bishop out over here, the rook and the bishop attacking the pawn, the queen eventually too. So that was, but I didn't do that anyway. That was my inaccuracy. I brought the rook over to double on that file. And he took my pawn, okay, and I retook. That was my second and only other inaccuracy in the game. After this, there's no more inaccuracies. I took the pawn because I didn't feel all that comfortable that his pawn down there, but I guess according to these stockfish, I could have just let him take the pawn, and I should have just come down here immediately. But in the game, I retook with my pawn, and you can see that's an inaccuracy. He brought his rook over. He should not have done that to stockfish. Let me just go back to show you what the stockfish was saying. The stockfish was saying to take the knight with the bishop. He brought the rook over because he wants to get all of these things. That he wants to bring his king back to here, so he's got the two rooks lined up on my king, supported by the queen and the two bishops. It looks pretty formidable. But I brought my rook down, and I'm not sure he sees this, that it's a very, very strong attack because it pins this pawn. It pins this pawn. This pawn cannot. If I bring the knight here, check, the pawn can't take it. He would have to take with the bishop. And if he takes with the bishop, I can take with the rook. Because again, the queen can't take the rook because I'll take his queen. And it's not going to be good for him, especially with his battering ram. I take his queen, and then it's not going to be pretty. Plus, I got two rooks and a bishop for a queen, which is not a good trade. So I don't think he sees that that pawn is pinned and how dangerous that is. Otherwise, he would have brought his rook over to counteract me on this file. If he had brought his rook over, he would have only been down a little more than a pawn. But instead, he saved his bishop by bringing his bishop back, and suddenly I'm ahead 5.3 because of the pin on that pawn. Okay, and now it's just check with the knight, and again, from here on out, no mistakes, no inaccuracies. So I put him in check. What can he do? The pawn is pinned. He would like to take my rook, but he can't because he's in check. He takes with the bishop. Okay, but then my rook comes down. If he takes with his queen, I get his queen, and I'm going to be like pretty far ahead in material because he takes here, and then I wouldn't say I'm far ahead in material, but he's down. Let's see how it would play out. Okay, I'm just gonna take there, and I take here. He's got to take the rook, right? And then I could come down here, check. He's got like only one move, which is there, and I can just like start taking pawns and stuff. And what can he really do? I got these two pawns protecting me. He could advance this pawn, but I'm going to just like start threatening stuff like all over the board against him, and it's not going to be pretty. So um, he didn't take the rook. He thought, well, I came down here with the rook. He figured, well, I'll save my queen. I'll put my queen up here. And there again, this pawn is pinned still. And so I brought the rook over, threatening his, checking his king while threatening his queen at the same time. And now if he should retreat the king according to the stockfish, but he didn't. He took the rook, which looks like a good move. Took the rook, and then I came down there, put him in check. Again, the pawn is pinned, and the king has to go back, and then that's checkmate. So that was a carokan. Just reviewing it kind of quick to show everybody how the pawn cube is strong, and don't avoid that pawn cube at all. Just go back to the very beginning and run through the carokan really fast. So there it is. That's the carokan, advancing that pawn up. When he brings the knight out, you go like that. I mean, in this variation of the carokan. And basically, that's it. I'm just castling as fast as I can. I'm going to bring my rook over here. I'm going to bring this knight up here and then over to here. I'm going to bring the bishop back to here or here and get a battering ram set up. Sometimes what they'll do is they'll move this pawn up. Once I get the battering ram, they'll move this pawn up um, to try to block him out. But usually I bring this one up to here, so then he can't bring the bishop out. So that's that rendition of the carokan. So without any more ado, well, we don't have any chatters very much tonight, but that's okay. They'll jump in a little bit. They're probably a lot of the people, a lot of my fans are having dinner just about this time because they're from different countries. I already had my dinner, but people have dinner at different times all around the world. So let's go ahead and create a game, shall we? And see how we do. I'm going to create a game without the it's going to be a casual without the rating because a lot of times I get chatters in here and they start giving me tips on how to move and everything, and it's not so kosher to be receiving, even though I don't look at the tips when I'm playing, but I'm just going to play casual anyway. So here we're playing another carokan. Who knows, the same thing might happen. When they advance the pawn, it's best to just you advance the pawns on this side of the board. And now there's different things that can happen. I think it's probably best to start getting ready to castle. I mean, I kind of think that that might be good, but to do a little variation, I do queen side, king side, a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to come up here because I don't want him to bring his bishop out to this square. That'll block his bishop in. And now I could already get ready to castle. Um, It might just stymie him a little bit in terms of time. If I bring the rook over now, he's going to wonder what's the rook's going to do. He might take an extra few seconds to think. Whereas if I just went to the castling, he wouldn't think I have any combination. So that's a little bit of a psychological play. Now I'm just don't have anything else really to develop, so I'm going to just move out here and not waste any more time. Time wise, we're okay. I'm going to come out here. Well, there's different things I could do. Should I keep those pawns back or advance them? I could advance on the queen side too. I think I'll do that. I'm going to advance up on the queen side and give him like a lot of headaches over there. I got the king side pretty well protected, I think, with the knight and the queen and the bishop. And I'm just gonna keep, according to my plan, advance up in there. Now I can bring the queen up like I was thinking before, but it'll be behind the pawns. Now, should I do it already? I think so. I can't really see what's happening. I mean, I can see it, but I can't really fathom it. Let's put it that way. Don't know exactly what's happening here. Okay, I'm just gonna move the. No, that won't. Well, yeah. I'm gonna come up here and you know if I come up here and take that. Okay, so I think the best thing to do now is this because it'll protect my knight when it comes up into that square. And his bishop won't have anywhere to go. I can trade him off. And so many people are so paranoid about um, the bishop knight priority that they get all kind of like freaked out when you just decide to go ahead and trade their bishop. Now he can't move his bishop, so I'm going to take the pawn. Like he can't save his bishop from anywhere else, so instead of doing the dastardly move, I'm going to let it hang over his head. They say that that's the best way. Okay, so I just immediately do that. They often, when you bring the knight to here in the carokan, they very often advance this pawn against it. Just learn to always bring it back. It attacks the pawn. Wow, but he in this case, well, he saved his bishop out of there. That was good. I can't really take that pawn. I'm going to bring my queen. I don't want to waste time on the clock. I'm just going to bring my queen back and maybe my bishop back too. I've done as much as I can on this queen side. I don't see anything else to do over there. I'm just going to come back into a kind of a defensive position and see how this plays out. The knight can sit up here, maybe threatening to do something at some point. Okay, I'm going to do this because I need to get some more pieces into play, and I think that this will really make the game go kind of like asymmetrical. Now this will make him something to think about. He'll have to retreat that bishop that he's constantly trying to save. And now I'm going to, but he can open the file in any case. That's the thing. I don't want to open that file, but he's going to open it in any case. So I'm going to take him like that. Okay, and now got to do something smart now. This is the main thing where it all happens. I got to do something really smart, but I don't see what it is. I'm going to bring the rook over. Maybe it was smart just to keep the position like it is. And hopefully he won't find any way to attack me further over there. And I brought this rook over so I can advance this pawn, and if he takes me I can take with the bishop against the queen and then bring the knight in here and then up to here. I mean, that's what I'm planning to do. I don't know if that's going to work, but if you're going to attack this pawn, I can bring the rook up to here. And then if he brings the bishop here, I can advance this pawn up. If he trades his bishop, okay, so I'm going to do this like I was thinking. I see what he's trying to do. He's going to double here on this file with his queen. But I'm going to give him some trouble over here on the queen side before he gets anything really working up there. I think I'm going to give him something to think about. Because I could already, if he moves his queen over, I can already bring the knight here attacking this bishop. Or I should probably, if he brings his queen there, well, this knight is already defending here. So yeah, I could, if he brings the queen over, I could come over here with the knight and then up in, well, okay, let me see. That was good. Okay, so I'm going to do this, what I was thinking, because a pawn over here, I can advance the pawn down, and now I got to decide what to do here. I think it's safest to come up with my rook, because I'm going to slide my queen over now here to defend this pawn. My queen can get better play over here. So he took there, huh? Okay. Maybe I should just, I'm just scanning here to see. I really don't see what I have to do, what I have, good things planned, but I'm thinking that it's not a bad move. Um, now I got to watch for this pawn here. I'm going to just do that because he'll have a hard time attacking me with these two pawns against the rook. He's got 55 now. Suddenly I'm starting to do good on the clock compared to him, and I can bring my bishop up and then the knight over here. I'm going to do that. That'll really make him think. And in any case, I'm going to. Okay, I'm going to bring my knight up here. Whatever he does with his knight, I'm going to, I think, attack his queen. He doesn't want to sacrifice his queen against this pawn. And now the queen is in front. And I can come up here, really, really stymie his plans on tripling there. Okay, so he came over there attacking me. It doesn't look like a really strong move. Maybe he didn't know exactly what to do. Um, Looks like I'm in big trouble here, but hopefully if I bring the queen up here, defending this pawn, everything's going to be all right. The rook is guarded by this pawn over here too, so I don't have to worry about having this file opened up. This rook is free to move. I could attack his bishop with it. Okay, so we won on time. Wow, look at, did you see the delta up on top? Look at that. Like I won the game and you could just see the brainwaves going like way up and the delta up on top. And then they come down, they relax. You see how they after they peaked, they come down. They always do that. After a peak, they don't like to peak for a long time because I think it's too much of an energetic state. They like to they always tend to drop after they peak because they can't just maintain up there. The brain would get too tired out. Um, okay, so it's the sixth day of Christmas. We're wishing everybody a wonderful, happy holiday season. And so far tonight in this session, we saw pretty good, interesting combinations from the book by James Mason. Then we reviewed a game I played last night, and now we're going to review the game I played tonight. And then we'll probably call it a quits because even though it is holiday season, I am also working. I got a bunch of stuff I got to finish, and luckily I'm able to work at home and get my workload out of the way. Unless we start chatting, I don't know if anyone's going to jump in on the chat, but if they do, we'll probably just stay on. But this will be good for the sixth day of Christmas. Otherwise, let's look at the analysis board and see how that game went in terms of blunders and stuff. I mean, I didn't feel like I knew exactly what I was doing. I was kind of like playing the clock a lot. And it didn't. Okay, so just looking at the graph, I think that up to this point, I was playing very consistently. Then I probably made a few mistakes here because he was able to come up marginally ahead. And then I played pretty strong again, and then I made some mistakes, and then he got marginally ahead. And then after that, I got like really big advantage. And then toward the end, I don't know if you noticed, maybe it's because I didn't have anything to do in terms of attack, but I just kind of like laid off the attack and I was like being defensive, letting the clock run down, but still keeping my advantage, but plus my advantage on the time, which won the game. And yeah, a lot of blunders. My opponent had 3 blunders right there. I had 4 blunders. But look at this. The opening was basic well, the opening was perfect for black. My first inaccuracy came after the opening. Okay? So in white, look at this. White's inaccuracies are there, and that's the mistakes. There's the blunders. So white had no inaccuracies either. So because most people, especially beginners and intermediates, are mainly interested in openings, this is a perfect instructional game, very educational game, because we played a carokan just like we played last night. We played last night too. You can watch at the beginning of this video a carokan with no inaccuracies on either side or mistakes or blunders in the opening. And also this game too, no mistakes or inaccuracies on either side during the opening. So it's a very instructional game for opening. So let's click back and see how to play the carokan, shall we? So the carokan, as we discussed earlier in the stream tonight, it's when white plays pawn to king 4, which is a very popular move, and black responds by getting ready to move the queen pawn up. And then that's a very popular move because white knows basically that black wants to do this, so brings the knight out. It's a strong move to protect against. Okay, so then black does that. Instead of taking the pawn and whatever happens, I take and other things happen. A lot of times white will advance his pawn up. And I think obviously it's a great move. Stockfish said it's not an inaccuracy, so one thing you can do is advance the pawn up. It prevents the knight from coming out and maybe hems in black's position to a certain extent. So, like I said, so you don't waste time on the clock when white starts playing this game. Always know that he's coming out on this side. You're going to come out on the other side. Just remember. Okay, so I'm just advancing that pawn up. He's completely safe. Now that this pawn is advanced up, I can bring the knight out behind him. After I bring the knight up behind him, I can bring the queen up to here, which is going to attack his castle position. And the queen's pretty safe right here. This knight's going to come out to here and then over to here. They always say, "Oh, don't put your knight on the side of the board," but he's not destined to stay here. It's just like a stopping off move to bring him up over to here. And it's better than bring him to here and then up to here because here he blocks in your bishop. So you don't want to do that. Now I don't know why he did that, but it's not an inaccuracy yet. But it did shave off a little bit of his of my advantage. So it's actually a good move for white to have done that. And I bring my knight out. And now I make my first mistake. No, mistakes were later in the game. I make my first blunder. No, it's not my blunder. That's not a problem, is it? What is it right there? That is, there's a little dot there. Wait, that's just an inaccuracy. You see the little blue dot? The little blue dot on the top of that was an inaccuracy. So that's an inaccuracy. Um, and I remember during the game, I said, well, I'm going to switch off and on king side, queen side, make his clock go down a little bit. I didn't make his clock go down, but I have a tendency to waste time in the opening, and so by doing that, I at least kept the clock more balanced. And just to show you what I should have done, if I click right here and go back, if you put the mouse up here, Stockfish will show you what you really should have done. Um, Stockfish is telling me to move there, which is what I did. And then it told me it was an accuracy. Well, can't win, I guess. Okay, came out there. I brought my knight out there. Wait a second. No, I was misinterpreting these lines. There hasn't been any inaccuracy yet. Everything is playing very well. We're still in the opening. So anyway, I just click through and see. So after that, it just gets kind of haywire, and then I won on time. So I hope you enjoyed the game. I apologize for the little glitch there in the middle. I was interpreting this line as the progression line, and I was thinking, well, we're progressed up to here, and then I made some problems, but the progression line was still way back here, and it was a good opening all the way through. So I guess I gotta quit for tonight. That was fun. That was the sixth day of Christmas, and since there's no chatters, it's already time to go. Um, but we did have a good run tonight. We got the brainwaves working excellent, and we had some great, interesting brainwave data. Like you could see a lot of correlations there with my mindset as I was playing. So it was a big success in a lot of ways. We played a game that we won, which is good. So I guess for the sixth day of Christmas, Christmas is all about happiness and joy, and I guess because our brainwave apparatus was working very good, we won a game. We got some instruction. Um, well, how much more in the Christmas spirit can you possibly be? And we'll be back tomorrow night for the seventh day of Christmas. Don't forget, there's 7 days. Um, a lot of people don't even believe there's 12 days, but I'm just going to do a quick search here so you see like 12. I'm going to look up here like 12 days of Christmas. Okay, a lot of people think there's not 12 days, there's 1 day. Um, but there's 12 days of Christmas, and it's not just a song. Look right here. There's an entire Wikipedia page about the song, but then there's a Wikipedia page about the 12 days of Christmas. And if you read the Wikipedia page, the 12 days of Christmas are the festive Christian season celebrating the Nativity. Christmas Day is the first day. The 12 days are from 25 December to 5 January. And they will explain historically down to late antiquity, England, the Middle Ages. And I think it's on this page that they explain about how capitalists didn't want people to take 12 days off for Christmas. They wanted to cut it down to at most 1 day or maybe a longer weekend if it falls on a Tuesday or a Thursday. Um, and the capitalists were very happy about um, robbing us of 11 days of Christmas because they were able to make more money. And, my son told me this. Think about this. Look at all the machines we've invented since the steam engine and the Industrial Revolution and everything. We invented all these machines, we invented all these computers, all these things working for us, all this wonderful power and all this thinking power. Wouldn't you think would be working shorter weeks? How does that work out? Seems like I remember a long time ago. Um, my dad used to go to work at 9 and he'd come home at 5. He had a house, he had a car, he had a good life. He wasn't like ultra educated or anything. Um, Everybody in my town basically was doing okay, working 9 to 5. And nowadays, You work 9 to 5 unless you have some Uber education or some wonderful niche that you got for yourself. You're not going to afford very much working 9 to 5. So it's kind of strange, isn't it, that we keep getting all these wonderful inventions in terms of more powerful batteries and machines and robots and computers. And at the same time, we all just keep working as much as before. So where are the benefits going? And then you look at the distribution of income, and you got these people with like hundreds of billions of dollars at the top. I mean, you can kind of think where it's all going, and all these CEOs and upper management that are getting like $10 million. They didn't used to get $10 million a year. Now they are, and if they screw up, they get more money because then they give them the golden parachute and they tell them, well, you're kind of screwed up big time for the last few years. You better get out of here and take this huge severance package with you, and we'll just pay you like 3 or 5 years all at once, and you can go off and either retire or go move into another position. Screw up there. Um, it's not what I'm trying to point out. It's not really helping the common people very much. All these new inventions, and neither the way I got into this was talking about how they robbed us of 11 days. But don't let them rob you. Celebrate the 12 days and come back tomorrow. We're going to celebrate the seventh day of Christmas tomorrow with more chess instruction and maybe another game. Who knows? And of course, brainwaves. So good good night, farewell. Um, a Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.